watching our videos. The last video that we did on the Donald Trump assassination, 500 views, which is unheard of. At one point in time, there were 120 people watching, mostly trolls, I admit. This is a definitely controversial topic, and it's worth proceeding this topic throughout different weeks. Obviously, we get different information, and that's what I want to talk about today is different information and different perceptions. I do want the law enforcement side of things. So the new information that we received is that at this house where the shooter was located, there's a guy climbing on the roof, and you see the spectators and you hear them say, hey, there's somebody on the roof. And then maybe, I don't know, 20 seconds into this, you hear a spectator conversation with a law enforcement officer. Actually, I don't even know it's a conversation, but that person does mention, hey, there's somebody on the roof. And I think at one point in time, somebody mentioned there's a gun. Now, we did learn that there's a deputy sheriff or law enforcement officer that was not Secret Service, that investigated this person on the roof, and it looked like he got some help by his partners, who helped give him a boost so that he can gain a position advantage and actually see what's going on the roof. At this time, we learned that the soon-to-be shooter looked at the officer or looked at the deputy and pointed his gun at him. At that point in time, the deputy or the officer retreated. And within seconds, Donald Trump was hit. You know, we keep hearing that this was a grazed wound. The fact is that Donald Trump was hit with a bullet. He was hit. Now, I'm not going to go on this channel and develop excuses for law enforcement and the lack of professionalism, the lack of accountability, a lack of awareness. This is not an excuse. Now, I went onto another channel where these two former, I think, full-time SWAT operators did a breakdown of this incident. And what I saw in the comments is kind of disturbing, because everybody, I didn't see one comment that said anything favorable to the video. All the comments were, you guys are coming up with excuses for other cops. You know, stop coming up with excuses. And then like 300 people would like that comment. There was absolutely nothing positive in the comments. So I'm like, what the hell? And I actually read the comments before I watched the video. And while I was watching the video, I don't know if the same thing happened to you guys, but I kind of feel like when somebody makes a point on YouTube or social media or through a video, I just feel like a sense of connection with that individual who's speaking topic. So there's numerous times when I just started listening to them and I started saying, well, that's absolutely true, because I was involved in a situation and ABC happened. The whole time I was clicking with these two SWAT operators, but it's just crazy because I think I was the only person, at least in the comments, that thought that what they provided was useful information, and it was not covering up for officers. That's not what law enforcement does, is cover up for officers. So I don't want anybody getting the impression that I'm coming up with excuses, because I'm absolutely not. I work law enforcement in California. I've worked private security in California. I've never worked in one of the Midwest states where this happened. Was it? Oh, Pennsylvania. I've never been to Pennsylvania in my life. I have no friends in law enforcement or security. Actually security, but law enforcement, I don't know anybody in Pennsylvania. So there's no reason for me to, I guess, to excuse the situation away. There's no reason for me to do that. What I will say is these guys were spot on about what probably went on in the head of the deputy. Now, keep in mind that deputy is not going to go on camera and say what happened. They're not. I mean, you think he's going to go there and say, "Oh, I saw him. I got scared and I retreated," and the sheriff backed him up. By the way, you think he's going to say, "Oh, I have a lack of training"? Nope, he ain't going to say that because the sheriff backed him up. Now, if the sheriff did not back him up, I can easily see this deputy maybe just saying, "Screw it, my career's over. I'm a coward, and I can never regain my reputation," and the sheriff didn't help. But that wasn't the case. That deputy ain't gonna go on camera and say what happened. Okay. But what I believe would happen is probably these are accurate perceptions. So he probably, first off, he got alerted, right? Guys, when you work crowd control, and I know many of you do, there's a whole lot of people saying a lot of things. Look at this. There's a fight over here. This person has drugs. Like, there's all kinds of information. Somebody climbing a roof, that is certainly the stimulus for attention, right? Like, you should pay attention to that. If somebody says, "Hey, there's somebody climbing the roof," why is that? Because they could gain a position of advantage on the president, right? Have a drop on him, or I'm sorry, the former president. So obviously that's not a good. There should not be anybody on the roofs. I will tell you that the communication between the Secret Service and local law enforcement is mediocre at best. Secret Service, they will not, and I repeat, they will not give local law enforcement their radios. They're right. Like the actual radio that they use to communicate with each other, you're not going to get one in your law enforcement. You are not going to get a radio. I see, like, in the comments, a bunch of people say, "Oh, I'm a former SWAT commander, and this is what happened." Like, there probably was never even a president in your jurisdiction, so some of your experience is irrelevant. But I will tell you, there is a breakdown in communication. So even if local law enforcement saw somebody, like, or they got a good report that somebody on the roof, do you honestly think, and answer me if you could, do you honestly believe that local law enforcement can get it on their police radio and contact the Secret Service directly and say, "Hey, there's somebody on the roof"? And Secret Service, the two snipers, get that information. That's not what happens in real life, guys. In real life, the police officer would probably get a hold of dispatch or the incident commander at that point in time, and the incident commander probably distributed one of their radios to Secret Service. So basically, local law enforcement cannot listen to Secret Service, but Secret Service can listen to law enforcement. But there is a huge delay in time. And that delay, as we saw, can make a huge difference in life and death. Okay? Now, I don't know about you guys, but be honest here. Have you trained to search for somebody on a roof? Now, it's well known among tactical circles that for every for every situation that involves a possible deadly force encounter, you should have a barrel solution to what your eyes see. So what we should have had was the deputy looking over the roof and having the barrel of a gun backing his observations. Now, the second issue is this: do you point a firearm, or can you point a firearm at a human being that's not a threat to you or somebody else? And I'm talking about a deadly threat. Can you point a firearm? Police use of their firearm is very similar to civilian use. So what legal justification do you have to go up the ladder and have the barrel of your loaded firearm back what your vision sees. What legal authority? Now, I'm sure that you can articulate it, right? But in many of these circumstances, you don't have a lethal threat. You just have somebody who's maybe trying to get a position of advantage to see the former president. That's probably what these deputies are thinking at that point in time. Do you really honestly think that if law enforcement knew that there was a sniper on the roof hell bent on hurting the former president, you think that they would use that technique? Let me just get hoisted up here and let me just sneak and peek. You think that they would honestly do that? If that's the thought, you're wrong. I don't know of any of you guys on any executive protection detail that would look on the roof like that. Like there's nobody, okay? And I'm telling you guys, most people, like I have not trained formally, even in SWAT procedures, how to look for somebody on the roof, and I admit it. There is a training void. Should it be done? Yes, obviously it should be done, right? And I'm sure full-time SWAT operators, the guys that do this every day, they're able to incorporate into their like weekly training how to search a roof appropriately. But do you honestly think that this deputy that was chosen for this assignment had that type of training? Do you think that Secret Service, a month before they show up, they give law enforcement formal training on threat response on CQB? Because the answer to that is probably not. I've worked a presidential Donald Trump detail before, a month before Secret Service showed up, and Secret Service told us nothing, like almost nothing regarding the event. We didn't even know that there was going to be a Black Hawk helicopter hovering over. We didn't know that. We didn't even know. The only training that I got or direction from Secret Service is basically do not look at the president when his motorcade is in back of you. We only want you to look at the crowd. That's it. Those were the directions from Secret Service. Do not look at the president. Look directly at the crowd. That's it. That's all the training that was received. The reason why I'm trying to give you guys a different perspective, like the law enforcement perspective of the situation, is so that we don't repeat the same mistakes. I hope that law enforcement, private security look at this as a training issue. We need to start training on how to search roofs. We need to start training on how we search a roof if a spectator just went on top of the roof. We need to learn how to search roofs if we believe that there is an armed gunman on top of the roof. We need to search a roof with knowing the only information that we have is there's somebody on the roof. Unknown if they're armed or not. There's different methods of search. Do you take your gun out every single time and search with your gun out? Are you legally justified to do that? Now again, some might argue, well, the presidential detail, they're 140 yards away. A sniper could definitely hide on the roof, and that's how I articulate that I would have my gun out and have a barrel solution to. I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying that you have to be able to articulate that. So what I'm calling for is more training with law enforcement officers, more training in private security. You want to know the honest truth of what happened, guys, in California? I'm putting on some different active shooter courses, like 5. I got 5 post-certified 2-day courses, which is also it was authorized by Alert, ALERTT. They are a branch from Texas State University. The FBI determined that their protocol is should be standard operating procedures when addressing an active attack situation. I'm putting out 5 of those courses. 2-day courses, 8 hours each. Okay. Oh my goodness, I lost my train of thought right now. Oh my goodness, I forgot. Anyhow, that's like the golden standard. Like everybody should be trained to that standard. Oh, okay, I remembered. So I was trying to get that course post level 1 certified. Post in California stands for Peace Officer Standards of Training. They're the regulatory arm. They're the commission that regulates California peace officer related training. Okay. The post coordinator for our area said that there's no more level 1 reimbursement. What level 1 reimbursement for law enforcement agencies entail is backfill. So when a police officer or peace officer goes out to training, a lot of times there has to be an officer that backfills that officer's spot. Otherwise, there's going to be a shortage of officers for that day. California Post, on level 1, they reimburse the agency. They also will reimburse hotel, lodging, mileage for the trip, and then pay the overtime wages for that officer to attend training if there's any type of overtime involved. That's the post level 1 reimbursement. Every law enforcement agency's dream is for all these classes to be level 1 reimbursement. Well, at the time that I filed application for these 5 active shooter courses that were approved by Post, I kind of complained to Post. I said, hey, look, you guys approved, it was about 2 years ago, an active shooter course that was given by the FBI in the San Francisco area. Can we have the same level of reimbursement? And the answer was no. You can't have the same level of reimbursement. Where all the level 1 reimbursement went to, and you guys could probably guess, it went to your de-escalation class, your de-escalation courses, your communication courses. So basically, California Post determined that you need those communication classes a lot more than active shooter training, because active shooter training, and I found out, was fully post reimbursable. You're able to apply for a level 1 reimbursement and get it. So what that means is law enforcement agencies in California are less likely to send their officers to these training events that don't have level 1 reimbursement. Maybe level 4, but for sure, if you don't have level 1 reimbursement, the law enforcement agency is going to take a huge pinch, and most or many will not be willing to take that pinch. So now you're stuck with de-escalation courses. Would a de-escalation course, would it have stopped this shooting? How about talking to the guy, talking him down, getting into his perspective, getting in his frame of mind? Would that allow the former president not to get shot? And I would say absolutely not, right? There's a time for de-escalation. I do think that those de-escalation classes, they should get priority. I absolutely believe so. I think that the active shooter courses should be fully funded, with the communication classes, the de-escalation classes. They should be equally funded. They absolutely should be. And I believe that BSIS, the Bureau of Security Investigative Services, the regulatory arm for security professionals in California, they should get reimbursement from the state for maybe they should be providing active attack training, and I think that they should. Right now, I'm just bringing up California. I know half of you are not in California. I'm just saying that your state should follow similar advice, critique. Oh man. In a nutshell, there's more training, there's more money going to de-escalation than active shooter. And again, the question is do you need de-escalation courses, communications more than active shooter, these tactical courses? Yes, but fund them as equal as possible, right? Or look, even not maybe fund them as well. I think that they should be equally funded, meaning level 1 certification with all of these reimbursements. But if you have to pick one more than the other, then pick the communication class. But there has to be funding, guys. There absolutely has to be funding. And I actually have a solution for California Post. There's a lot of level 4 courses that get certified. I've certified, like, I'm at 9. I got 9 certified. It's level 4 reimbursement, which means lodging and miles and breakfast, lunch, dinner to a degree is paid for by California Post. For that officer, overtime is not. How about those courses? Like, we stopped getting level 4 reimbursement for those courses and have complete level 1 reimbursement for the active shooter courses. In my honest opinion, that should be the case. All right. If you guys, those of you who work for Native American reservations, again, you're considered law enforcement. There's federal training for you guys out there that involves active shooter training. Make sure you guys take advantage of that. So in a nutshell, in summary, I'm not coming up with excuses for what happened. First off, I have no reason to give an excuse. I don't work for that law enforcement agency. I don't work nowhere clear that law enforcement. I don't work anywhere close to that law enforcement agency. Don't know any of those police officers that were involved. I have no intent on coming up with excuses for them. That's not the purpose of the video. The purpose of the video is exposing the lack of training out there with law enforcement and even private security. Law enforcement needs more training. Your average patrol guy doesn't know what to do in a elevated position situation where there's an active attacker on the roof. Your average officer does not know how to address that situation. SWAT, yes, but I'll tell you that I was listening to this full-time SWAT operator. He hasn't even like he's went through training, like basically like a discussion, but not there's never any like live fire on how to address the situation. And there's some issues. So when you're climbing up a ladder, the issue is you might fall, right? And you might fall with a gun in your hand. That's one situation. Also, when you draw, okay, or you're presenting the firearm in an upwards or downwards motion, you could potentially be flagging somebody below you. Another issue is you might slip and then grab for something and then have an accidental discharge. I mean, there's so many variations there. And then also, a completely understandable concern is you might attempt to clear the top of the roof, have a barrel solution to what your eyes see, but then gun grabs could potentially be an issue. So now you got somebody on the roof who maybe didn't even have any weapons. Now that they have your gun. Okay, these are all obvious issues. And then also, this guy going up probably doesn't have coverage. So when you go up on a roof to look for something, there might be somebody on another roof at a different angle that might hit you. And you don't have that blocking procedure in place because it's only you on the roof. I'm telling you guys, the average security guard, the average police officer does not have training to go on a roof and search for somebody that is possibly going to assassinate the future president of the United States or the former president of the United States. They don't have that training. They don't have direct communications with Secret Service. That is a fact. And if you're working private security, you probably don't have those comms at all. But like, let's just say your executive, your former president goes to, I don't know, like a place of entertainment, like a large hotel or a large venue, right? Now, there has to be interaction with the in-house security or private security. But is private security, are they going to get a radio that's directly linked with the snipers of Secret Service and everybody else? Absolutely not. All right, Mike from the Professional Security Journal is here. Mike, thank you for posting that video yesterday. I'm sorry, yeah, yesterday or in the morning. I saw it. Mike did an awesome video where he basically said, look, I don't have any rifle training, no sniper training. I'm going to just discuss what I know. That I never heard that before in the security circles. right? Everybody, like, we're all proud not to say something like that. So I honor him for saying that. Um, I honor him for saying that he's not going to talk on a topic or topics that he has no training or experience in. That's highly respectable, and I'll do the same thing, and hopefully everybody else would do the same thing. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have an opinion on something. They'll definitely have an opinion. We're just asking you that if you have an opinion on something, you might want to, just for a little bit more credibility, you might want to back up what the opinion is. Slender says, hey, Sean, hey, hopefully you're doing well. Lone Wolf said he saw the gun when he went up there. Yeah, and then that's the thing. So, look, guys, if you're on a rooftop, you don't know what the hell is going on. You're climbing up the ladder. You don't have a gun in hand. And they're telling you there's something on the roof. And I see some people complaining, oh, they told the police officer he has a gun. Well, did he hear? Did he hear what was said? And at what point in time was it? I mean, was an officer on the other side of the building when the spectator basically broadcasted to everybody that there was somebody with a gun on the roof? I mean, who heard it, right? Now, if I'm a police officer and you're telling me there's somebody on the roof, I'm not going to hang out around where you're at anymore. I'm going to start walking around the building to see how I can go up there. And in doing so, I don't have direct comms with the spectator, with the witness that saw somebody going on the roof with a gun. So they might add, or somebody else might add, and he has a gun, and I might not even be within hearing distance. Slender says, Secret Service seems to think they're above everyone else. They should work with local agencies, especially with details like this. And I agree. I think that they should provide better training. When I work with them, I got no training. Again, my only training was don't look at the president, look at the crowd. That's it. That's the training that we got. So they should absolutely work with law enforcement. The whole trust situation, that you're going to have to break some barriers. I mean, that would involve the Secret Service, like maybe doing joint training events with law enforcement. And guys, when you train with other people, there's like a bond that forms. It doesn't matter where you go. I train with our local SWAT teams all the time. And we did an operation not too long ago. And at the end of that operation, these strangers, I'd never seen them in my life, SWAT operators from another agency, they gave us all hugs. Like, strange guys, just strangers. That's how strong the bond is with the SWAT community. That's how much bond there is when you start training together. You don't have to be law enforcement. Even in private security, there's always like some training bond that you form. And I think that Secret Service should do that more often with law enforcement and even private security. Ryan from the University Security and Training Solutions channel is here. Good evening to you, sir. Mike says CQB threat assessment, protective intelligence, insider threats, layered protection plans. So much goes into it. You know it. Obviously, Mike does his research. He has significant experience. I mean, most private security professionals wouldn't even mention those factors that go into maintaining a safe place. Security guard. Hey, David. Professional Security Journal says to say the Force Science Institute. Yeah, guys, there's so much. Lone Wolf said the Secret Service failed. I agree. I do not agree that. I mean, it depends. I honestly think, and feel free to disagree, it's not Secret Service. It's not Secret Service. It's not the guys that covered the president, like using their own human body, willing to die in the line of duty to protect the client, protect former President Donald Trump. Not their fault. Those guys did what they're supposed to do. The counter snipers, they didn't err. You know that look, that confused look when one of the snipers looked above the scope and then went down at the scope and then assumedly laid down gunfire and put the suspect down. Again, I don't know if it was him. That's what happens when you power up on your scope too much. There's not going to be any context into the situation. That's why he had to probably look above his scope to see what's going on, and then he sees somebody on the roof, probably powers down on the scope, and then takes those hits. Not even shots, takes those hits. Remarkable job. The response time from the time of observation to the time that the bullet left the barrel, was it like 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 5? Phenomenal job. The Secret Service failed. But it's not those guys. It's the leadership that failed. There was some poor planning involved, and if there was an agreement with law enforcement that absolutely nobody, go on the roof of that building, if law enforcement understood their mission, their objectives, local law enforcement, then they absolutely failed. Now, if Secret Service did not communicate that to them effectively, then Secret Service leadership failed. What I usually do when I talk to people regarding something is I'll ask them, do you understand your job? Okay. I don't mean to be rude or nothing, but this is kind of something that's very important. We have the former president. What is your job? Like, what is your role right here? Have them repeat. If they say, I don't know, it's not consistent with the objectives, that person wasn't briefed appropriately. And I think that should have been done, and I think that's where somebody failed. Slender says, there's a song by rapper Tom McDonald that sums up my feelings on this whole situation. It's called You Missed. I agree with everything you're saying, Sean. You missed. University Security Training Solutions. I actually like that criticism. It's Swiss cheese, multiple layers of mistakes. Yes, I like that analogy. Security unlocks his hey brother. Hey. David says the word de-escalation is such a misnomer. Yep. Absolutely. Next question is, why doesn't Trump hire a personal security detail? Can he? Yeah, he absolutely can, but like, why would you if the Secret Service is free? And then that's another issue I have with government. Like, you can't depend on government to protect you. I think your best protector is yourself. Like, there's nobody in a better position to protect you than yourself. And again, I don't know if this person got less. I don't know if Trump got less coverage than President Biden because he's no longer a president, but this definitely exposes some weakness. FHL says, no excuses. It was 30 minutes. I definitely would like that to be verified. Like, if there's somebody on a roof for 30 minutes when that person is acknowledged. So, I don't know. If there's some evidence to show that he's been on the roof for 30 minutes, that guy's on the roof for 30 minutes, there's a huge falling out within multiple different law enforcement agencies. Lone Wolf says he fell off. You make excuses. Again, it's not an excuse. And I said that numerous times, guys. If we don't bring up perceptions, if we don't bring up what most likely happened, we don't bring up the mindset of a police officer who is supposed to be providing law enforcement services, and he fails miserably because of a lack of training. That's not an excuse. That is an issue in law enforcement. And if we don't bring that up, that void in training is not going to be addressed. And that's what we're here to do. Once again, I don't even know any of these people involved. I could bash them all day long, and there's no benefit in doing that. Again, the benefit of today's video is that we expose a lack of training in private security and in law enforcement. And then let me ask you guys this, okay? You go up a ladder. Just imagine yourself. Okay, you get mediocre training, or you get no training at all. And once again, I'm asking you guys, when is the last time that you got training on how to search somebody on a roof with a ladder? In the comment section box below, in the regular comments, let us know what type of work you do, where you got that training from, and when to look on a roof. There's going to probably be like, this video is going to have like 500 views probably, right? Maybe 300. There's only going to be a couple of people that are going to mention the type of work that they do, where they got the training, and what it basically incorporated. I mean, something like that. There's going to be almost nobody. I could assure you that. So you go up a ladder, you don't have a barrel solution to what your eyes see, and somebody has a gun pointed at you. What are you going to do? You're going to just stay up there and draw your gun? He already has a drop on you. If you think that you're going to get a drop on this person, you're completely wrong. Because I can put most people in a simulations environment, and somebody pops out with a gun. You know what they do? They peek back into the corner that they came from. That's usually what they do. Or they don't have a barrel solution of what the eye see, and the bad guy already has a drop on them. That's like 90% of people that are not trained. And if you're trained, let's hear from it. You're not going to see a lot of people that receive training on how to clear a roof with a ladder. So what are you going to do? Well, most people are going to just duck down, right? Even the sheriff said, like, I would have probably done the same thing. If I peeked up a roof and I saw some dude pointing a gun at me, I'm going to go back down. And you know what? I might be so scared that I might just jump off the ladder, like not even think about it. Because I'm telling you, if somebody points a gun at you, you might even be on a ladder. You might say, screw this. Like, I'm jumping down. That's like human reaction to somebody that has no training. It's sad, right? And then did he run away? We don't know that. We know that he jumped off the ladder. Once again, I'm seeing this on camera. If I'm climbing up a ladder, if I got no training, and I see some dude with a rifle pointed at me, I am going to jump off the ladder as well, or I'm going to duck all the way down. And I'll tell you this, when he's on the ladder, I bet you that there's no law enforcement that's providing coverage. So, you know, what I usually done in the past when somebody's on a ladder, I provide lethal coverage by pointing usually a rifle on the ledge or directing it towards the ledge of the roof, just in case someone pops up. You think someone did that? I don't know. And do you think that that officer deputy that went up there had confidence that somebody's going to back him up just in case the shooter popped up the roof? Blockchain has a PPO question. I'm just answering questions related to this topic. So please, in any of the video that involve PPOs or private patrol operator applications, you feel free to comment there, and I will definitely give you an answer. I promise. Universe. Yeah, Mike has some valid points here. Michelle says they have to hire more women in Secret Service. Some women small to protect big people. That lady involved. And again, I was watching Mike's video, and he gave that female Secret Service a lot of credit. And again, a lot of people were like, "Oh, she couldn't find her holster." Guys, if if your local trainer, okay, is telling you to look at your holster before you holster, that's probably a better trainer. We used to get taught in the late 90s to never look at your holster, because if you look at your holster, you're losing situation awareness and somebody's going to get the drop on you. Well, our question, even Mike's question, is this. Mike from the Professional Security Journal. How do you know I'm sorry, why are you holstering if there's more threats out there? So once again, they used to tell us, make sure that you never look at your holster because there could be more threats. Don't look at your holster. So I could do it rather fast. I could holster without looking. I could still do it, but if there's possible more threats, why am I even holstering? That doesn't make sense. And then I'm starting to realize with some of the holsters out there that if you've been in a shooting, okay, that brass can fall, it hits something, and then fall into your holster, and then you're not going to be able to holster. Now, is there ever a time where you have to speed holster? Rarely, but there is. I mean, in law enforcement, you might have to have somebody gunpoint. All of a sudden, that person takes off running from you. That might be a situation where you probably want to holster very quickly. But, guys, this lady did what her training pushed her to do. And should she have looked down at her holster? Absolutely, right? Absolutely. But I will assure you that during her training, whatever training she has, they probably told her to not look down at your holster, to look for more threats. You blame her, or you blame her training, or both? I don't know. I'm just asking you guys that question, okay? But that lady, I think she did a remarkable job. Feel free to disagree. Mike says, somebody, FHL mentioned they have to hire more women Secret Service. Some women's small to protect people. And then he says, then how are you supposed to shield your principal if they're smaller? FHL says, did shooter get a ladder? No, I mean, that's a good point, Mike, right? FHL says, did shooter get a ladder? I don't know. Mike says he bought it. FHL just said he liked and subscribed. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness, Mike, this guy's still back. All right, guys. So I'm out of here. I'm looking forward to the dialogue and your input.